Okay, in this video, we are going to look at how to render 360 video, whether you want to make it monoscopic or stereoscopic. This one's actually stereoscopic. So we're going to render this. This is, of course, rendered out of Unity. And in a previous video, I showed how to do this using a free Unity asset. This time, we're going to use VR Panorama Renderer Pro. So if I say 360 Pano, you can see the two main ones are the free one. I have a previous tutorial on this, and now we're going to look at using the asset from all of VR called VR Panorama 360 Pro Renderer. Now I'm going to go ahead and import the package, and this one has really nice documentation, so I really don't need to do a detailed tutorial on how to use this. So this video is just more informative so that you can kind of compare the two packs and decide which one you want to use to render video. This one, of course, is a lot nicer, a lot easier, and has more features built in. So here, of course, is the documentation. It's good to get this started, and I'm not going to go through the whole documentation, but we could see here that we just need to right-click in the hierarchy and say add a VR panorama camera. So let's say I had my own scene set up here and I just wanted to render here. I would essentially delete the main camera and add a VR panorama camera. That adds the camera back in, but it also has the VR capture script on it that we need. Then there's a bunch of the options here to set up for your video. Let's go through those options. And before I go through this script, I just want to import some kind of an environment so that I can look around at stuff. I'm going to use simple house interiors, and the reason why is not the last video, but in a previous video, I had announced a giveaway for this pack, and this Making a VR Game series, I haven't been able to continue it, so I never announced the winner. Now I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner for this pack today in this video. So I'm using this for the 360 video, but I'm also giving a free copy away. I've ran the script to pick a winner randomly, and the winner goes to Mokelmuse. Mokelmuse had put a comment right here, and all you had to do to enter into the giveaway was put a comment in. So congratulations, Mokelmuse. You win a copy of Simple House Interiors. And now that I have that in my scene, I'm going to go ahead and drag that into... I'm just going to grab the demo scene and bring that in. And I am using Unity 5.6 F3. So it is, 5.6 here. And I notice there's two lights. Obviously, there's a directional light in the demo, so I'm going to turn that off. And let's move that VR panorama camera into the room. There we go. And that's probably should be a little bit higher. Now, if I want to see what this looks like in the video, I need to turn off the VR capture script, because when I hit play, it'll start recording the video. So I'm going to turn that off, and that will allow me to just select my camera here and then rotate on the Y value so I can kind of look around. And I can see that I probably want the Y value to be up a little bit higher. We'll just go up to 3. And now I'm ready to render my 360 video. Everything happening here is great. So I'm going to turn on the VR capture script. And when we press play, it's going to start capturing the video. So before we do that, let's go through the settings here. First of all, we got the capture mode. Whether we want a animation capture, which is what we want for a video. You can also get a still image or a VR panorama in real time. So it'll render that VR panorama in real time Unity. We want animation capture because we want a video. The next type is what type of video you want. I'm going to use equidistant mono, because I think mono works great for YouTube 360 videos. However, you can make the equidistant stereo, which is the left eye on the top and the right eye on the bottom, in a image that's in a in a 1-to-1 ratio. So you're 4096 by 4096. That would mean that the top left eye is an area of 2048 high by 4096 wide, and the same thing for the other eye, the right eye, 2048 high by 4096 wide. So that makes a 4096 by 4096 stereoscopic. If you do mono, it's just going to render the entire single image into that size. So we can set the sequence format, which is either JPEG or PNG. JPEG is faster, but PNG is lossless, so you get a better, higher quality video. The JPEGs also take up less room on your hard drive. And then this is the folder that it's going to save to. The default VR sequence is fine. And if we want to open up that folder, we could click this button here that says Open Destination Folder. And I already clicked play on accident, so there's some images in there. I'm going to delete those. We can set the resolution, width, and height, or just click a preset here. I'm going to use a preset of 4096 by 4096. And you'll see this doesn't update if you have your mouse selected in it. So I'm going to click out of that, and it of course is works better that way. Same thing goes for the frames per second, so I'm going to click out of there. I could just type one in, but I want a frames per second of 30. Now 60 for VR stereoscopic is probably a good idea because you want to use virtual reality at 60 frames a second. But again, this is just for YouTube, so for a monoscopic 30 frames per second, that's fine for YouTube. Now the number of frames to render is how long you want the video to be. Because my frames per second is 30, let's say I wanted this to be 30 seconds, then it would be 30 times 30, and you would want 900 frames, of course, to put in to get your 30 seconds. For this tutorial, I just want a 10-second video, so I'm going to make 300 frames. And we can resume from frame. The resume rendering from frame, this can be used as a resume option after a crash or user cancels. So if you already have a bunch of images in here, let's say it got to 150, then you could start on frame 150 and just finish those up. And then we got the line with the horizon, which is, it aligns the camera with the horizon. So let's say your camera is flying through the scene and it's kind of tilting on its axis, it's rotating. And if this is for 360, a lot of times you just want the camera to stay exactly the X and the Z rotation to remain at 0, and only allow it to rotate on around the Y axis this way. So if you select this, it's going to make sure the camera is aligned with horizon. I'm going to have that checked, and then we get some optimizations here. There's some audio options. And you can get 360 audio with Ambisonics audio, but you could also add sound, create an audio source. I don't want it to be a child of the camera. And then we could add a sound to it and put it over here. Turn on the spatial blend all the way up to 3D. And then the sound would respond spatially. Of course, if we have the Ambisonics spatial audio engine, then we can use that with this pack. And now we're going to get into the rendering options. It has an option to automatically encode an H.264 video after the render is complete. I'm going to deselect that because at least for this tutorial, I want to click through each button one at a time. So the first thing to do is to capture the audio, because it can't capture audio while it's capturing the video because the audio isn't playing in real time. So the first thing you need to do here is click Capture Audio, and that's going to go through and listen to the scene. The camera is going to listen to the scene for however long you've set, in this case 10 seconds, and it's going to make a WAV file out of that. So now if I go back to my VR sequence folder, I can see that there's a WAV file here, and it just captured. I really don't have any sounds in the scene, so it captured something, but we won't hear much. And so now that we have the audio from the scene captured, we're ready to render the video. So I'm going to go to render the video. We could click render panorama right here, or we can just click the play button. So I'm going to go ahead and click render panorama, and then it pops up this window and it's rendering. Now you'll notice that it sees nothing. This is a little bit of a bug right now. It doesn't happen in any Unity version 5.5 or below, but because I'm on 5.6, there is a bit of a change here. And what you need to do is select use depth buffer. Now the developer, I'm sure, he's aware of this bug, and so I'm sure we're going to be seeing an update to fix this soon. But again, we could just go back to Unity 5.5 and we don't have this issue. But in Unity 5.6, we do need to select the use depth buffer. And before I render this, I'm going to go ahead and delete these images. Well, let's just see what happens if we don't. Let's see if it's going to overwrite them. So I'm going to hit play, and it's going to start the render. And there we go. We can see that it's rendering the proper image, and it's going to take, it says, 3 minutes. And going into the folder, yeah, I could see that it just overwrote the images. So there's no need to delete the images if you accidentally click play. And of course, we can be off in another tab watching a YouTube video. It's still running, and Unity does not have to have focus in order to have the render go. Okay, so the render is complete, and it pops open the folder, and I can see that I have IMG 1 all the way through my 298. So I have all the images that I need for the render, and now I also have my audio, so I'm ready to put the video together. Now there's a couple of options to put the video together. You could actually use Adobe Premiere. My previous video with the free pack shows how to do this manually with the FFmpeg command line, and this tool actually has the FFmpeg command built into the script, so those two are on this button and this button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this button, which is Encode an H.264 from the existing sequence, and that's going to go out and try to find the sound and the image file and build a video out of it. Now I can see that it's failing, and I'm not sure why, so this is kind of tricky, but if I push print screen, right when it's has that error, I can paste the screenshot, and I can see that it says unable to find a suitable output format for 192K, invalid argument. So I'm not sure what this is. Obviously, the FFmpeg command line that is running is having a problem. However, if I click this encode best quality video for Gear VR from a 4K sequence, that goes ahead and work. And so I can see that it's going through. FFmpeg is compiling it. It's at frame 100, so it's going to go through pretty quick and get to 300, and the video is going to be done. Now, I'm going to look at how to actually make this button work. But here we go. It's just about to finish. There it is. And if I go back to my VR sequence, I have the VR sequence 360. And so FFmpeg. Now, I should have moved something in the scene so that we could see something happening here. But unfortunately, this was just a static scene. I should have made the cube move or something, but we do have a video, and it does actually have audio. We just can't really hear anything or see that something's happening. So the video is actually rendered, but if we want to look at why this button isn't working, we would go into the scripts folder, actually the editor folder, and there's the VR Panorama editor script, and there's also the VR Panorama menu. So I'm going to open up this script, and the button for the Gear VR, I think I could probably just do a Control F for Gear VR, and that takes me to, maybe it has a space in it. There it is. So here is if the GUI layout button encode a best quality video for Gear VR. We could see that it's running this ffmpeg command. Start a command on the system, ffmpeg, and it's doing -F, image 2, frame rate. It's passing in the path, and it's setting the scale, and it's here we go with the video codec, and here's the audio, and I noticed that I was getting an error about 192K audio, so I could see that 192K here. But the Gear VR button worked, and the previous button, this one, Encode H264 from an existing sequence, that button didn't work. So the only difference in audio between these two is the Gear VR one has a experimental after the strict, and it also does not have this channel layout 4.0. Whoops. So I'm guessing, I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm guessing maybe it's this channel layout 4.0 that's causing the problem, because maybe that has to do with the spatial audio. I'm not sure why this error is happening. I just know if you copy essentially what the Gear VR is doing on the audio here, which is -C, AAC, strict, experimental, -BA, 192, shortest. Then you go back onto your Panorama camera and you do a Encode H264 video. Then it actually works, because the error that we were getting was strictly related to the 192K invalid argument. So the difference between the Gear VR and the H264, we kind of already seen it, but for the Gear VR, the highest that you can go is 3480 by 1920. And because I want a higher resolution than that, I want 4096 by 4096. I want to use the H264 button, because that's going to make the 4096. So now here's the two videos. Here's the VR sequence. And if I look at the media info on this one, I could see that it's a 4096 by 4096 render. And the one that was rendered for the Gear VR is a 3480 by 1920. So the VR sequence is the one I want to use. I'm going to delete this other one. And now I have the video, but if I upload this to YouTube, it's actually, YouTube doesn't know that it's a 360 video. We need to inject that metadata into it. So the 360 metadata injector is included. There's two buttons here. This one adds the 360 image metadata tags for Facebook, and this one is the spatial media metadata injector, which is what you need to use for the YouTube videos. So I'm going to click on that button. It's actually just going to open up this spatial media metadata injector program. I'm going to click open into the VR sequence folder and select my file, and I want to set it as spherical 360, but it's not stereoscopic and it does not have the spatial audio. So those two are not selected, and I'm going to click Inject Media. Now it needs to save that to a new MP4, or I guess we could probably overwrite our other one, but it adds the underscore injected, so that's okay. And it's already done. It just takes it 1 second to do that. And here is the VR sequence injected.mp4. This one I can actually upload to YouTube, and YouTube is going to recognize it as 360 video. So this is a really nice tool to get that done. And here's a video that I rendered using that plugin. And I also use another plugin called Rhythm Visualizer. And I'll probably have a tutorial on how to do that. But this was, anyways, just a recent video that I used that plugin to create that 360 audio visualizer, where I played a song in Unity, the video rendered a 360 image, and the audio visualizer plugin was able to do this audio visualization. So anyways, just a little example of one of the videos that was made using this plugin. And I hope this tutorial helps you out. I'm putting a link to the VR Panorama 360 Pro renderer down in the description. So if you want to get this asset, you can go to the Unity Asset Store and grab it there. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, if it helps you. See you soon.